What's up, guys? In today's video, we are gonna take a look at the Red Komodo X, Red's latest cinema camera, and an update from the older OG Komodo. I recently rented the Komodo X for a project, so I don't have a lot of time with it, but I wanted to run some tests on it and compare it to my OG Komodo and let you guys know the conclusions I came to in this admittedly brief period of time, and ultimately answer the question, will I be upgrading? Should you, as an OG Komodo owner, upgrade? Stick around to find out. There's going to be four main topics that I want to cover in this video. First, we're going to talk about autofocus. That's right. And I'm actually using it on the Komodo X right now. We're also going to talk about the differences in form factor, the different frame rate options, particularly related to slow motion, as well as the low light performance. So firstly here, the autofocus, which has an updated face tracking algorithm compared to the OG Komodo. You guys let me know what you think here. And I'll have some footage from an event that I'm shooting, which will be able to showcase a little bit more of the autofocus capability. Right now I am using the Sigma 18-35 f1.8. It's an EF lens, so obviously because the Komodo X, like the Komodo, the OG, is an RF mount camera, RF mount lenses are going to perform better in terms of autofocus. And I had quite good success overall with the Sigma 18-35 on the OG Komodo. But a big upgrade here in regards to the face tracking is that it's actually built into the Komodo X. With the OG Komodo, you could only enable it through the Red Control app. And the version that's in the Komodo X is updated, it has more features. So for example, if it loses a face, what is it gonna do after that? Is it gonna look for the first face or the last face, or one that's closest to the camera or furthest away? So there's quite a bit more features in terms of the autofocus related to face tracking. Now there is not subject tracking, unfortunately, but I mean, this is a Red camera. What they're providing here is pretty impressive. You know, you're not gonna get Canon or Sony level autofocus, okay? Maybe one day in the future, we'll get subject tracking. Fingers crossed, Red. Please bring us subject tracking. But I'd say for now, the face tracking is pretty solid. And if you are shooting events or you're shooting like interviews, corporate style videos where you only have a few subjects in the frame, it does a good job there. Sidebar, so on my OG Komodo, I unfortunately had to stop using the Red Control app, which I've got up here. After the last time that I updated the app and with the latest Komodo firmware, it just really like broke down. The live view functionality became so choppy without me even tweaking any settings within the Komodo or the app. I could not rely on it anymore, and I had to get a more robust external monitor. So I'm not sure if it's my actual particular OG Komodo model or not, because with the Komodo X here, the app works great. It is super snappy, the live view is fantastic. It's basically the quality like I was experiencing on my OG Komodo before the last time I updated the app. So I'd be curious for anybody who owns either the OG Komodo or the Komodo X, throw a comment down below and let me know how the Red Control app, if you're using it, has been performing on your camera. All right, so now we are gonna switch over to the OG Komodo for the rest of this review. All right, so let's take a look at the body of Komodo X. Now, the mount here, it's got this locking mount in addition to the regular button press over here. Now, I've never actually seen a combination mount. I've used ones where it was just the locking mount and just the standard one over here or something similar, but never this combination. And really it's having that extra strength of the locking mount to really secure in larger, heavier lenses that, you know, just gives you that extra peace of mind. It's really, really nice addition, I gotta say. And the thing is, if you use lighter lenses, you don't necessarily have to use the locking mount. It's just, it's there for you if you want it or not, right? So awesome update there. Now we also have integrated V mount in the back, so no more Canon BP batteries. And this is pretty nice because you can use nice little small V-mount batteries and it just pops off like that. So if you've got mini V-mounts, then you're good to go. Larger V-mounts like this, they're just not gonna fit because of the side I/O ports here. I like that the I/O ports are on the side now instead of the bottom where they were on the OG Komodo. I like that, but it blocks larger batteries from, you know, working here. So you're gonna only be able to use smaller V-mount batteries. And also I do have to say that I miss the dual battery capability of the OG Komodo. I didn't always use the Canon BP style batteries. I did typically use V-mount batteries with the adapter on the OG Komodo, but it was nice having that ability to hot swap. So, you know, you don't have that hot swapping capability anymore on the Komodo X. You have to plug in the main power cable if you want to swap out to a different V-mount battery. We do have more ports, so we have a better, more robust audio port for you know, connecting to like XLR audio, but unfortunately we lose the mic, like the 3.5mm mic in jack. So this Rode wireless microphone that I'm using, and the receiver is plugged into the OG Komodo's microphone port, I'm not going to be able to use the Rode wireless mic on the Komodo X unless I get an adapter that will connect to a 3.5mm jack, which is another accessory that's a bit of a bummer, but you know, not a deal breaker by any means. And lastly, we have the nice new battery door. Very satisfying. The Komodo X uses the newer and faster CF Express Type B media, which is generally cheaper and smaller in size and much faster even than the CFast media that the OG Komodo uses. So all around, I would say really nice updates on the body, even though it is a little bit annoying with the I/O ports blocking the usage of a larger V-mount battery. Next up, let's talk about frame rates. So the Komodo X actually doubles the frame rates of the Komodo. So in 6K 17:9, you can now go up to 80 frames per second instead of the cap of 40 on the OG Komodo. And at the 6K 2.4:1, the like wider, more cinematic aspect ratio, you can go up to 100 frames per second instead of the max at 50. And you also additionally have 4K 120. It is a crop in on the sensor with the 4K, but it goes up to 120 frames per second instead of 60 frames per second now. So a lot of awesome higher frame rate options. You'll see in the footage here, I shot the same sequence on both the OG Komodo and the Komodo X, both at the maximum frame rates in the widescreen 6K format. So the OG Komodo is only gonna go up to 50 frames per second, but with the Komodo X that can go up to 100 frames per second, it's gonna be 4 times slow motion when played back at 24 frames per second. So a lot more frame rate options in the Komodo X. So one important thing to keep in mind though is that the Komodo X has a maximum playback or project frame rate of 60 frames per second, while the recording frame rates can go up to 120 frames per second in 4K. The fastest you're gonna be able to play that back is gonna be 60 frames per second, so it's already going to be playing back in slow motion. Whereas, if you could record it at a playback frame rate of 120 frames per second, then, you would get normal real-time playback. Okay, and last up, we're gonna take a look at the low light capabilities of the Komodo X compared to the OG Komodo. This sequence was shot on both cameras, and I will notate at the bottom here which camera it was filmed on. The lenses that I used as well, I tried to use as close to the same field of view and f or t-stop as possible. All of the settings were exactly the same, white balance, ISO on both cameras. Guys, let me know in the comments below which one of the two cameras, if you feel that there is any kind of a performance difference. Is the Komodo X appearing better in the shadows? It has an extra stop or so of light in the shadows that's been reported. Okay, so the moment you've all been waiting for. Is the Komodo X a worthwhile upgrade to the OG Komodo? Is it worth the $4,000 price tag difference? I would say for the most part, yes, it is. And while that price tag difference is quite significant, just the fact alone that there are more robust frame rate options, that I don't have to go turn to another camera to really be able to shoot solid slow motion footage anymore, is pretty nice, because when I'm out on the field shooting with the OG Komodo and I need to get a slow motion shot, I have to turn to one of my other cameras. In a sense, with the Komodo X, I can sell one of my other cameras that I was mainly using as a B cam for slow motion specifically on a shoot. That is going to recoup some of that cost difference. I also think that the improvements to the body, particularly the V-mount port, I'm generally using a lot of V-mount batteries on the OG Komodo, so not needing an adapter, I can just put the V-mount battery right on. That is, a nice convenience element for sure. And I don't have to stock up on Canon BP batteries anymore. I think there are some improvements to the image quality between these two cameras. The extra stop of light certainly helping to enhance the quality of the shadows and the detail that can be seen within them. And just a number of other quality of life improvements, like that updated autofocus, and I expect that that's just going to continue to get better. Now, if you already own an OG Komodo, you are going to do just fine keeping that camera. I don't think that an upgrade to the Komodo X is absolutely necessary in every use case, right? If you don't shoot a lot of slow motion and you have a good sort of setup with your OG Komodo, you've got a good rig going for it, then I think you're going to be just fine. If you own neither of these cameras and you're looking to choose between them,
Again, you really have to look at what the use cases are going to be. Do you need those additional frame rate options and potential detail in the shadows? Is it worth the substantial $4,000 price difference? All right, guys, really appreciate you watching this video all the way through. Please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It really helps me grow this channel. I will see you in the next one.